We're going to wait till 1:15 a.m. to make sure that well, at this point in time, the governor, as well as the state of Hawaii and all 4 counties, have downgraded our tsunami warning to a tsunami advisory. That does not mean it's an all clear. Here in the county of Hawaii, on the island of Hawaii, we're going to wait another 10 minutes, make sure we get accurate visual assessments of exactly what type of surges and to what degree all along our harbors and coastlines. In spite of the downgrade from tsunami warning to tsunami advisory, our harbors are still closed, all of our beaches are still closed, and we're asking everybody to stay away from the ocean and water along shoreline and coastline areas. We anticipate in about 10 minutes, upon final assessment, visual assessment, that will then ask everybody to return to their homes, ask our visitors that they can return to their hotels, and that will be closing our evacuation centers. We're just respectfully requesting a little more patience from everyone. We want to thank, of course, all of our residents and visitors and volunteers, federal, state, county agencies for their hard work these many hours. Again, we were prepared for the worst, but of course we were hoped and prayed for the best. At this point in time, we just want to make sure we get a final assessment and determination before we ask everybody to return to their residences and hotels. And we want to make clear that the downgrade from a warning to an advisory does not mean all clear. We still want people to exercise caution. We still want people to exercise good judgment and to ensure safety and cooperation along our shoreline coastline areas.
Could you tell us what was observed here in Hilo and maybe around the island?
Well, we saw activity, of course, surges. At one point we saw 4-foot surges at 6-minute intervals, which meant some significant activity along the Hilo Bay and Wailoa Harbor area, some activity along the Hilo Breakwall. There was some surge and activity at Keoho and Kona and at the Kailua Pier, but nothing significant, nothing that threatened anyone's safety, anyone's life. Some question as to property. We don't have a thorough assessment at this point in time, but the news that we have received has been good thus far.
Anything you can tell us about the reports? I know you told some of the other guys about these reports of boats maybe being grounded or anything like that. Any updates on that?
Well, because of the significant surge activity in Wailoa Harbor, there was some boats moving up and moving down, reports of some boats perhaps being moving around significantly. There was a question of a boat being pulled off its moorings, but it was still attached. It wasn't completely pulled, so we didn't have any reports of any boats or significant property damage. More importantly, we're very thankful that we didn't receive any reports of serious injury thus far island-wide.
And were you satisfied with how the emergency response moved?
Oh, I'm so proud of everybody's response, our agencies. You know, we've of course had tsunami exercises and drills. We've had 2 full-scale tsunami evacuations, both an 8.8 earthquake in Chile a couple years ago, 2009, of course, in March of 2011. We had another island-wide tsunami evacuation. This one had a little shorter notice. And there was some question. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center had initially reported that no tsunami was generated off of a 7.7 earthquake in the Channel Islands in the Pacific Northwest. Subsequently, of course, there was a report that tsunami had been generated as reported by the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. At that time, our emergency operation centers in both East and West Hawaii was stood up. And, you know, all the credit goes to these hardworking individuals back here who keep our island safe. And most importantly, a lot of appreciation and thanks goes to our residents, our businesses, people in the Hawaii Island community who responded really well. Everybody evacuated safely, respectfully. There was some challenges out there in the community and some confusion, but ultimately everybody was evacuated in time and safely.
Is that in reference to the sirens maybe at Hilo? Anything about that?
Well, no, it's in reference to the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center having issued that there was nothing, you know, there was no tsunami generated, and a subsequent report that there was. That communication created some confusion. Some sirens did not go off initially, but our first responders, police and fire were already in process of evacuation, shoreline, coastline areas. So a lot of manual alerts went out. Subsequently, by 9 p.m., with still over 90 minutes spare, all of the sirens were reported to be working.
I have to say, I was down at the airport, and I don't think a siren had gone off yet, but they went through, they evacuated property.
Yeah, you know, and it's just the community and the first responders having utilized the airport as an evacuation zone. In spite of the construction down in that area, people were able to safely evacuate. So yes, in spite of not every siren having gone off, and in spite of monthly testing, everything worked well because people were out on the streets working really hard.